Hi. Ooh. So today, I want to speak to you about how to survive your first year as a startup. And when I was thinking about it, I actually came up with 7 things that I want to share with you. So the 7 things that you must do in order to be successful on your first year are: number 1, choose a great name. Number 2, register your company. Number 3, design a logo, your brand, your color schemes. Number 4, make a business plan, a great one. Number 5, find an accountant. Number 6, build a website that would use this amazing logo that you just developed. And number 7 is a secret. So I see some confusing faces in the audience, and you might be thinking that this is ridiculous, because it is ridiculous. I didn't come up with these things. I actually found them in a book called Online Business Startup, and I don't know how they came up with these things, but if you want to waste a lot of time developing your startup, then you can start with these things. If you look at the table of content, you will find developing a logo, finding an accountant, building a website, all the things that are not really important at the very beginning. So we can get rid of it. Now, my name is Adomas Baltagalvis, and I am the co-founder and CMO at Eddy Travels. So at Eddy Travels, we are building an AI travel assistant that helps millennials plan their trips more easily right in their favorite chat apps. So looking at the audience, I'm guessing that most of you are interested in starting a startup. But just a show of hands, how many of you have ever had this experience when you were walking down the street or you were working on something really hard and you had this frustrating feeling, or this painful experience, and you thought, well, I really wish there was this X that would do Y. Can you raise your hands if you had this experience in the past 1 month or in the past year? Amazing. So it is already a start, but I have some bad news with you that I want. So there are 7 billion idea generators in the entire world. And it's very likely that your idea is not that special. Sorry to break it to you. So probably there is someone who came up with a much better idea, something more interesting, something more extreme. So although it's a good place to start, but it's not enough. Instead, what I think is much more valuable already is looking for insights. So insights about the market, about the industry, about your customers and the problems that they are facing. Maybe there is a gap in what services are available and how they are solving those problems and what you can deliver. So when I think about Eddy Travels, we have some interesting insights that we discovered in the past few months. And I'm in an interesting position. I'm speaking about how to survive your first year as a startup, although we only technically began in August of 2018. So we still haven't reached full year. However, during this time, we joined the Techstars Serano Accelerator. We opened a company in Canada, and we are also raising a pre-seed round of $500,000, from which we have 300 secured already. So about the insights, the entire idea for Eddy Travels was born when our CEO, Edmundas, was traveling in China. And he had one of these insights during the trip. He noticed that WeChat is just such a massive and such a powerful application in China, and pretty much everything that you could be doing in China was through WeChat. You would pay for your coffee, you would order a taxi, you would rent a room, or even book your flights. And the same thing is, or a similar thing is happening in Latin America, where people are using WhatsApp like crazy for business. So now we see that Facebook is trying to replicate a lot of these things. They are copying WeChat, and they are trying to bring a lot of business tools. They are trying to open payments. They are merging the backend of WhatsApp, Messenger, and Instagram applications so that you can message across all of them. And at the same time, when you think about traveling, it's still a really, really overwhelming experience. On average, you have to go through 38 different websites just to plan a single trip. Plus, you have this millennials audience that is spending hours on social media and messaging applications. They demand for personalization. They are eager to get all of the information instantly. And when you combine all of this, you can see where the relevance for Eddy travels can come in. Delivering instant, personalized offers to people who are using messaging applications automatically via this digital assistant. But even then, you have an idea, you have some insights. They don't really matter if you don't execute properly. So the execution is still the #1 thing, and you can have as many ideas as you want, you have as many insights as you want, but if you don't do something about it, then nothing will happen. And maybe you can do it alone. However, if you want to build something really massive and really significant, then you'll definitely need a team. So naturally, when you are starting out and you're looking for to build something, you will turn to your closest circle for help. And in many cases, the first colleagues or the first co-founders will be among your friends, maybe your previous colleagues, maybe even your family members. And this is something similar. This is what happened at Eddy Travels as well. So on the left, you can see Pranas, who is our CTO. I know Pranas for over 20 years already because we went to the same school. He was just a year older than me. I met Edmundas roughly 6-7 years ago as well when he was building his previous startup, TrackDuck. Then Vytautas and Magirdas, they worked together with Pranas as well. Rugilė joined us as customer success manager. So the reason why I bring up the team and why it is important is it will have a really big impact, not just internally, but also externally as well. Because when in the future you decide to go and speak with investors, they will judge you on a few things, and team is one of them. So they will look at your team and they will ask themselves, do you have some previous knowledge? Has any one of you founded any previous startups? Were they successful? Even if they failed, maybe you learned some great things, maybe you built a strong network in that industry, and all of that can be very valuable. Still, you have an idea, you have some insights, you have a team, and what's next? Of course, building a product. And how do you do that? Well, you build it in a lean way. This book I do recommend. So as a present during Christmas, Edmundas, our CEO, gave it to all of us as a present, and it explains in a very detailed way the processes of how to build a product and how to innovate. So, things like simple things, but important things, how to go and speak with your customers, and how to conduct interviews, and how you don't really need anything tangible built yet. Maybe it's enough to have just some simple wireframes, maybe some PowerPoint presentation. Maybe it's enough just to print everything on a sheet of paper and bring it to your customers, potential ones, and get their feedback. So many people who are signing out, they want to build something perfect immediately. Well, the first thing that we built was far from being perfect. You can see pretty much the chatbot that we first launched, and it was literally built on a spreadsheet. So there were just simple conversations and interactions that we put on a spreadsheet, but we managed to publish it on the Viber chat application, and then take it immediately to some friends, to some travelers, show it to them, get their feedback, understand how they're interacting with it, do they like it or not like it, and how can we improve it. So since then, since this first version, we've kept building and making it better. We already have 5 messaging platforms that we launched on. We built our own custom natural language processing system, which processes all of the conversations. We also support voice messages that you can send on Messenger and Telegram. And we even have partners, big ones like Skyscanner, that are powering our flights, hotels, and car rentals. Now, this is what happens when you use a very fancy font and you send it without thinking about it. But when you have a product and you will naturally come to a point when you will want to acquire more users, more clients, and more customers. So I don't have enough time to go really deep into our marketing strategies. All of those things like social media and content production and influencers and all of that is really important, and you can try all of that. But one of the things that is working for us is social media advertising. So Our main target audience is millennials who speak English from Canada and the US. They're spending hours on social media applications like Facebook, Messenger, Instagram. So for us, the most effective way is to reach them there. And we started experimenting with paid advertising. We are getting some great results so far. So it's just one example how we prepare some very personalized or very location-specific offers, and we are targeting people in Toronto, trying to get them to fly from a very cold winter to a beautiful sunny beach in Cancun. And I would say that if you don't know what you are doing with paid advertising, or if you don't have the skills or the budget, you shouldn't be doing, especially at the very beginning. It is very easy to waste your money on paid advertising, and you should stay away from it as long as possible. Instead, what pretty much all of you have is hundreds of connections on Facebook, hundreds of friends, and also hundreds of connections on LinkedIn. So the first and most important part would probably be just to go and interact with every single person that you know, ask them to try your product, ask them to give you feedback, and see how they are using it and what are the challenges or how to make it better. We also, when we launched, we just organized a quick launch party here in Vilnius, and we invited a bunch of our friends, and we just literally forced them to go and try out Eddy Travels. We go one by one, you ask them to open their phones, and you show how it's done. When we were in Canada, we started organizing, involving the community as well. So online communities is great. Offline communities are also great. We organize some events for digital nomads. We organize some other events for people interested in AI or natural language processing, so the geeks. And so when you're building a startup, one thing that you learn or that you should learn very quickly is how to become shameless in promoting it. So pretty much at every conversation that we had, you would pull it out and you will say, like, this is it, this is Eddy Travels. Every meeting, every networking event, every meetup, every conference. So now I invite you all to open your phones, go to eddytravels.com, and try Eddy Travels on one of the chat applications. So you can simply say, flies from Vilnius to anywhere next month, and see what you will get. See? Shameless. But of course, while everything is happening on the side, you will realize that building and growing and scaling a product is expensive. So in our situation, we began by putting our own savings, and that allowed us to develop the first versions of it. But later, we got an investment from Techstars Serano. Later, we found an angel investor from the UK that has a lot of great travel connections. Recently, we signed a term sheet with a VC in the Baltics, and now we have some other ones that are coming up. Your journey will probably be different. So maybe you'll go to the cash machine and you'll withdraw all of your savings. Maybe you will ask your friends or family to help you with the development. Or maybe you will be working full-time and just developing this project on a side. Maybe you will even decide that you don't want to take any outside investment, like the founder of MailChimp did a long time ago. And they managed to scale it to an incredible $700 million per year in revenue. So it can be done, but it's just not applicable to all startups. If you look even at Uber or some of the other recent IPOs, they raised a lot of money, billions in dollars, but they're still not profitable. They're burning a lot of money because they are trying to scale as quickly as possible. They are trying to enter new markets. They are trying to develop new products, which means that they need a lot of capital to enter those markets and to secure a bigger market share. So in the same situation, you have to think about what will be your startup and how the future will look like. How much money will you need for the next 12 months before to develop to reach the first milestone? And after that, how much more will you need to attain the next milestone? When it comes to this, it's useful to think about. This was one of the things that I heard at Techstars Serano from one of the investors, and she said, it's useful to think of the 3 pillars when raising money: team, vision, and traction. You have to be strong in at least 2 of those. So it's a very simple advice, but it helps you to kind of analyze your situation. Where are you currently at? And just yesterday, I was speaking with a friend who also started a startup, but we soon realized that they are struggling with pretty much all of these three pillars. They didn't have any traction because they were building both software and hardware, and it takes just more time. The vision was lacking because they didn't know how the industry will convert and change in the next few years. And the team was also small, just 2 people, and they didn't have any insider knowledge. So for them, like he said, it was very difficult to go and approach the investors because they didn't have these 3 pillars. The vision part is also an important one because the investors, from their perspective, their goal is to find successful startups that can grow massively in the future. So on average, or very roughly, an investment fund wants to triple the money or triple the value of the fund in the next 10 years. They know that the majority of the startups will fail, so those that succeed, they need to increase 10 times, 20 times, maybe 50, even 100 times in value in order for the investments to work out. So looking back at the past few months, we were fortunate to be accepted to Techstars Serano, and we spent 3 months in Canada. So it was an amazing opportunity for us because only 10 startups from 1,000 were selected for the program. And Canada has an amazing industry in it's an amazing development in AI. They have some amazing travel tech companies as well, and we learned a huge deal from them. We spent 3 months working in a program, and I think the more important thing to share with you is about the terms. So with pretty much all of the Techstars programs, you give away 6% of equity for $20,000. Plus, they offer you a $100,000 convertible note, which means that you can either take it or reject it. And if you do, it will be converted into equity at a later time when you have this full round happening. So there were some companies that already had raised quite a lot of money, but they still decided to give away 6% of their equity because they found much more value in participating at the program than trying to keep the equity for themselves. So it was an amazing program. I think the value of Techstars in general is that it's a massive network. There are already 2,000 startups that have gone through the program. We met with hundreds of investors and hundreds of mentors and potential investors and partners in just a few weeks. And all of the feedback that we received, all of the introductions, they are helping us right now. And even better was the final culminating event that happened on the final day of the program. So you can see Edmundas on the stage pitching Eddy Travels in front of hundreds of investors, and even more watching the live video broadcast on YouTube. So immediately after we finished, we started receiving emails from potential investors that wanted to learn more about Eddy Travels and how we are doing. So the final thing, it's a simple one, but the perseverance is an important one. So, we haven't completed the first year, but it's been a great journey so far. We came from having a bot or a digital assistant built on a spreadsheet to having a fully operational one on 5 different applications. We are successfully raising our pre-seed round, and we have gone through the program finding new partners and new potential investors. So my advice or my suggestions would be, begin with some insights, see how the industry is changing, see how the markets are changing. Maybe you will notice some new trends, maybe you'll notice some new technologies that you can use or implement in new different ways. And also, think about the team, about the vision, what you are trying to achieve. So today, you are surrounded by dozens and hundreds of people that are interested in startups. Maybe someone sitting next to you will be your next co-founder, or maybe it will be your next colleague, or maybe it will be an investor that will believe in you. Just one thing to note about the investors is that it takes time to build those relationships, and don't expect them to convert on the first conversation. They will not marry you. They will not give you just money right away. And in many cases, it might take 6 months, 12 months, maybe even 2 years to actually get to a stage where it makes sense to both of you, both to the investor and you to get those investments, to get the money. And that is all. So this is our experience. I hope you found it interesting. I highly suggest you to just look to your left and look to your right and say hello to who is sitting next to you. And go check out Eddy Travels and see how search for flights to anywhere. Yeah, thanks.